All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors and salutations to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to you brothers out here pushing the truth with fear and sincerity. Also, shalom to the hopeful elect. It's your brother Cole Lockhart of GMS Northwest. Coming back at you with another video. And a couple of days ago, this was in the news that President Trump, bans travel from 12 nations, partially restricts entry from 7 others. Now, the backstory to why Trump is doing this is because of the attacks against the small hats. You know, there were 2 attacks in the last, I think, a couple weeks, where you had the Egyptian man, or the guy from Egypt that was here illegally, set 8 people on fire. And then you had the Jake in DC that shot the 2 small hats coming out of some museum and killed them. Not only that, out here in Washington State, at the campus of the University of Washington, you have protesters day in and day out where they're saying free Palestine. And, basically the people are not, people are not confused, or they're not easily tricked by Satan's devices. First and foremost, the men of the Lord, starting with our apostles and our elders, they've been forewarning you about these troubling times that's coming to the shores of America for decades now, and we're in that time right now. At the end it shall speak. As a matter of fact, let's get that real quick. I'm going through the spirit, so bear with me. Habakkuk 2 and verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon a tower, and will watch and see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run and readeth it. For the vision is yet for appointed time, but the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And what is this vision that's coming to pass? There's many visions that has to come to pass, but this vision of Esau, Edom, especially Amalek, getting exposed for their wrongdoing, for their injuries, their riches gotten by deceit. This is falling back into their face. They've lifted themselves up as the cream of the creme de la creme, the Lord's chosen people, but that's coming to find out that these rats are imposters. Somebody called Life Alert, because they have taken an identity of one people and transferred it into their own. And now they are, acting as if they're the people of the Lord, but they're being exposed. And we know President Trump is a so-called small hat. He was converted to Judaism in 2017. Converted to Judaism 2017. Well, they're going to tell you that it's false here. AI overview says it's false. But we know that it's true. And now it's the AI overview here, so just got to do a little digging. Did Ivanka Trump convert to Orthodox Judaism? Ivanka Trump converted you know. Let me do this. They don't say that, but you know, uh, Trump converted to Judaism, you know, and right now is acting like, you know, he's not for Israel but he's making laws towards to do things for the state of Israel, right? In this article here from U.S. Today says President Trump bans travel from 12 nations, particularly partially, restricts entry from 7 others. It says Washington President Donald Trump has issued a full travel ban blocking the entry of foreign nations or nationalists from 12 countries into the United States, reviving a controversial policy from his first term that is likely to be challenged in court. Trump cited national security risks posed by citizens of the target nations, which include several Middle Eastern and African countries. In a June 4th proclamation, he signed imposing the ban. He will partially restrict the entry of the foreign nationalists from 7 other nations. The restrictions are scheduled to go into effect on June 9th. The ban prohibits entry into the U.S. of foreign nations or nationalists from Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Trump issued partial travel suspensions for foreign nationalists from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. So basically, because the people that's coming from these regions are starting a lot of shit up over here in the Americas, you know, they're starting a lot of shit up. So Trump thinks is, you know, the good thing to do is to let's listen to
this. I directed the Secretary of State to perform a security review of high-risk regions and make recommendations for where restrictions should be imposed. Among the national security threats their analysis considered are the large-scale presence of terrorists, failure to cooperate on visa security, inability to verify travelers' identities, inadequate record-keeping of criminal histories, and persistently high rates of illegal visa overstays, and other things.
So yeah, this is trying to get a stop, you know, on these T attacks, you know, that's happening on American soil. Now, not only that, is Trump trying to build a Golden Dome? Because these elites know what's coming, and America is their playground. you know, versus the laws of physics. Let's see what that's talking about. It says President Trump poses Golden Dome versus the laws of physics. We're talking about a movie clip. Actually, I had a video lined up. Here, we're going to jump down to this, what Ronald Reagan said. What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack that could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies? You know, so long story short, they're trying to build a Golden Dome over the United States. You know, which in reality is just a surveillance hub for the people of the United States. You know, what's going to line up with that MOTB. You know, everything's digital. You're going to be hooked on to this golden digital dome that watches your every move, that has satellites, you know, that's up in them, that's programmed, that has computers, that's watching you and watching the every moves of everybody that's in the land of the United States or America, which is Babylon the Great in the Bible, virgin daughter of Babylon. You know, this is part of their enterprise. Again, along with the vision. This vision, you know, why does the heathen imagine a vain thing? You know, along with this vision that they have going on, which is their enterprise. Job 5:12, he disappointeth. As a matter of fact, let me start at 11. To set on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. And that's the Israelites. That's the hopeful elect. You know, to set up those that be on low. You know, we at a low state right now. You know, we're on the bottom, but we're coming out of that. As you see the ending of Esau's Edom kingdom, that vision is for appointed time. You know, we see in this appointed time, in these last days, in the latter days, as Trump continued to push throughout the earth his policies, his mandates, his executive orders, you know, backing of the wicked elite, you know, at the same time, making these other nations, you know, upset at the whore. You know, this is going to lead to, you know, eventually World War III. But remember, the devil has a short time. So all of this banning, this Golden Dome, this technology, raise arms for technology, the infighting, all of this has to come about, you know, in these last days. Job 5:12, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform the enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is cried headlong. You know, so he taketh the craftiness. He taketh the wise of their own craftiness. You know, he set them in a trap. He set them up. He give them this technology, this understanding on the left-hand side, but use the right-hand side to take it down. You know, that's the Heavenly Father. You can't judge that. You can't say, well, why you doing that, dude? You can't do that. You know, that's none of your damn business. You know, you want to be on the right side, if anything, not on the left side, even though the left side seems more appealing because you're in this sinful flesh that's been programmed to go off against the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son since you came into this existence on earth. You know, this one of many existence, because we all reincarnated at some point, you know, throughout the generations upon earth. You've been reincarnated into different bodies through your father's seed line, you know. But the Lord is going to disappoint them. You know, like I said, they, you know, are coming up with all these laws, Famine of the word is coming. All of these things are coming about in the land of America and across the world, you know, for that appointed time, for that vision. In this article, it says everyone agrees that President Trump's proposed massive missile defense system, nicknamed the Golden Dome, will carry huge costs. The questions for policymakers is whether the system serves a necessary safeguard for Americans or a destabilizing force in the world's complex global nuclear arms balance. And then another thing, they're trying to stop Iran from creating nuclear missiles. It's a question that hinges on whether any current defense strategies can effectively counter the fast emerging class of modern weaponry. Both Republicans and Democrats support updating America's missile defense, but low-tech surprise attacks like the one in Ukraine launched against Russia this week, using inexpensive drones hidden in the modest wooden huts with retractable roofs, have complicated the debate. What is a Golden Dome? There remains some basic uncertainty about the precisely a Golden Dome is. What precisely a Golden Dome is, even among specialists who described it as a sprawling system of systems involving everything from space-based interceptors to dirigibles closer to Earth. It says the combination of multi-layered space and land-based weapons is designed to provide a protective shield over the countries by detecting and intercepting standard or nuclear missiles during fight and potentially even before they are launched. The name is to nod to Israel Iron Dome, which has been largely successful in defending against low-tech rocket barrage. Mr. Trump originally referred to his proposal as the Iron Dome for America. However, Iron Dome is a trademark owned by an Israeli defense corporation. So this Golden Dome is supposed to intercept and, block missiles before they come, but, we know in the day when those 200 missiles should fall, that's not going to be able to stop that. And the Lord is going to be in those missiles. So they're not going to turn back dry. They're not going to be able to stop them. They're going to, build your dome. It's not going to be able to stop these missiles. Not only that, the dome is really for the surveillance of the people. It's not for that missile defeat. Because they don't care. War is a racketeer. They want war, not to try to stop it. But this war was spending on all this money on defense. Another thing Trump stated is that there's a possibility of 9/11 again. Something on that scale, order out of chaos. So they telling you something is coming. That's why the banning of these other countries, these nations where those nationalists are. He don't want them over here. He want to put a Golden Dome. He's saying that there's going to be another attack like 9/11 soon. Maybe the grid go down. Maybe banks shut down, the central bank shut down, all the banks and all the money get hacked into. 401ks, people can't get paid. People, nothing can happen, nothing can go on, nothing can move throughout the earth. Something is cooking up, and we know it's cooking up, and we know that something is going to lead to the famine of the word. We know the famine of the word is coming, right? Amos 8:11, I believe. Amos 8:11 says, "Behold, the day is coming, come, saith the Lord, power, that will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Like it says in Ezekiel 12th chapter, this vision, they keep saying this vision is for appointed time, but we know that's not true. This vision is for now. Well, it is for appointed time, but this vision is coming light now. They say, or in Ezekiel the 12th chapter, they say he's talking about a different time. He's not talking about this time. No, we're talking about this time. A famine of the word coming with all of this, back and forth, trying to shut people up. Trump voters trying to shut people up who talk bad about him. You know, how much more about the Israelis, how much more, you know, talking about so-called white people, you know, the past and all of this. You know, Esau's been exposed. His skirt has been lifted. You know, he's been found out. I'm going to read this. It says the possibility of another 9/11 scale event and is a topic of concern. And while it cannot be definitively predicted, it is important to understand that the evolving nature of terrorism and the measures taken to prevent such attacks. Government agencies like the Department of Homeland Security have been working to enhance security and improve intelligence gathering since 9/11, the Patriot Act. All you got to do, jump through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z to get on the plane. And now what they have today, they have Real ID. And what are they saying about these nationalists? They don't want them coming over here without the proper ID, with all these visas and stuff. You know, again, you know, this is division. You know, division is leading to that MOTB, this lockdown, this system lockdown, this I know what everything you do, and I know every transaction you do. I know every footprint, carbon footprint, you know, all of this. This is leading to tracking. Like it says, it's important to understand the evolving nature of terrorism. Why did he just ban those 12 countries? Because of terrorism. Who they pointing the finger at in America for terrorism? You Jakes. Jacob's Trouble. It's going to be one hell of a ride. You know? Again, the Golden Dome, surveillance. Real ID, surveillance. 46 cameras to one person, surveillance. A chip in your hand, surveillance. All this is leading to that vision, their enterprise. You know, they're shutting down all the word, shutting down the internet. You can't access it until this. You can't access it until that. This is what's coming, and this is what's on the way. You know, so with that said, I hope it's edified. I hope you got something out of this. Hope to see you in the next video. Shalom. Let's do the spirit.